خیلی‌ها نمیتونن مرغ درسته ببرن.
Iran might be one of the most misunderstood places on earth. For decades, it's been framed as hostile, closed off, and unforgiving. A place where rules crush freedom, where women are invisible, where anger fills the streets. The headlines tell one story, but there's so much more to discover. But what if most of that isn't the whole truth? What if we turned off the news, closed the BBC tab, and started walking the streets ourselves? In this travel documentary, you'll meet a country that doesn't beg for sympathy. It simply wants to be seen for what it really is. This isn't the Iran they showed you. It's the Iran they never dared to print.
They're creative.
They have very good potential.
They say Iran is extreme in ideology, in isolation, in everything. But when you step off the boulevard and into the alley, that story begins to fall apart. Just beyond the highways of Tehran, where glossy billboards shout slogans from a different era, you'll find another Iran, one the cameras rarely show. Walk into the south districts of Tehran, and you'll see children barefoot on cracked concrete, chasing plastic bottles instead of footballs. A man with a crutch leans on a rusted pole, begging in silence. A woman, face hidden by a torn scarf, quietly asks if you have any leftover bread. There are over 3.5 million people living below the official poverty line in Iran, according to the Iranian Parliament's Research Center in 2023. In parts of Sistan and Baluchistan province, over 45% of children under 12 don't attend formal school, not because school is banned, but because hunger speaks louder than education. Electricity is patched together with plastic ropes. A warm shower is a luxury, and clean drinking water, a gamble. In Khorramshahr, a city once destroyed by war and still half rebuilt, locals must boil tap water or risk infections. Even in Tehran's outskirts, power outages can last hours, sometimes days. And yet, even here, kindness finds its way in. Teenagers tutor younger kids with chalk on brick walls. Grandmothers share tomatoes from backyard vines. You won't see this on the evening news, but it's real. Iran documentary after Iran documentary keeps showing palaces, protests, or politics. But this is Iran too, the quiet fight to stay human. So is this all there is to Iran? Not even close. Tehran, a city of nearly 15 million, pulses with contradiction. Rooftop cafes, French perfumes, underground raves, all less than a mile from a child selling gum on the sidewalk. Iran doesn't just defy the headlines, it dismantles them. It's one of the most outdated cliches still floating around, that Iran is a country where daily life unfolds on camelback, with no trace of modernity in sight. But step into any major Iranian city, and that image vanishes instantly. In Tehran, you'll see high-speed metro lines, cashless cafes, and traffic jams filled with both locally produced sedans and foreign imports. An American tourist finds the Tehran's metro safer and cleaner than many American cities, with guided tours making every street accessible. In Isfahan or Shiraz, you'll find shopping malls, co-working spaces, and neighborhoods with fiber internet that's faster than in many Western cities. Far from being stuck in time, Iran is home to one of the most self-reliant science and technology sectors in the region. Despite heavy international sanctions, the country has made notable advances in aerospace design, nanotechnology, and nuclear research. If Iran can build satellites under sanctions, what's stopping the free world from solving poverty? Iran has launched its own satellites and continues to develop an independent space program. Engineers and scientists are pushing forward even without access to many global resources. And on social media, where filters can warp reality, the truth still manages to slip through. Accounts like Rich Kids of Tehran have gone viral, showcasing rooftop pools, designer brands, and private house parties. Sure, this isn't the life of every Iranian. Rural villages still exist, and yes, some communities do rely on donkeys for transport in remote terrain. But so do innovation hubs. Startups, smart city initiatives, and young entrepreneurs are reshaping Iran's present. Iran isn't stuck in the past, it's living in two versions of the present at once. And that's what makes it so fascinating. You might expect Iran to be a place where books are banned, minds are silenced, and ambition is crushed by ideology. But walk onto a university campus in Tehran, Isfahan, or Mashhad, and that image collapses instantly. Students, both men and women, gather in open courtyards, laptops in hand, trading PDFs over Bluetooth, preparing for pitch competitions, robotics fairs, and late-night poetry readings. In 2025, Iran's own Ministry of Education confirmed something astonishing. Nearly 60% of all university students in the country are women. Let that sink in, 6 out of 10. And literacy. According to UNESCO's 2024 data, over 85% of Iranians can read and write. That's a higher rate than many neighboring countries, often seen as more advanced. In lecture halls and underground study groups, Iranian students dive into AI, philosophy, physics, and film. They build apps, write novels, and debate global ethics. One shining example, Maryam Mirzakhani, the late Iranian mathematician who became the first woman in history to win the prestigious Fields Medal, the Nobel Prize of Mathematics. Her journey began in Tehran's classrooms. Yes, censorship exists. VPNs are common. Forbidden books pass quietly from hand to hand. But these aren't signs of defeat. They're proof of determination. Education here isn't about passing tests. It's about daring to think. If knowledge is power, what does it say about a country where women lead the classroom and rebels read philosophy by candlelight? Let's get one thing straight. Iranians are not Arabs, never have been. And if you call them that on the street in Tehran, you might get an eye roll, a history lesson, or worse. It's one of the most persistent Western myths, lazily grouping Iran with its Arab neighbors, just because they share a religion or use a similar alphabet. The largest ethnic group is Persian, yes, but Iran is home to a mosaic of over 10 officially recognized ethnic minorities. Iran is a continent disguised as a country. But guess what? Farsi isn't Arabic. It's an Indo-European language, like English or French. Most Iranians wouldn't understand a single Arabic sentence unless they studied it. Speaking Arabic in Tehran is like speaking Spanish in Moscow, completely misplaced. Yes, Iran is Muslim, but so is Indonesia, and no one calls Indonesians Arabs. So why this constant mix-up? Maybe it's ignorance. Maybe it's media laziness. Maybe it's just easier to slap a one-size-fits-all label on the entire Middle East and call it Arab. But Iran has a 2,500-year-old Persian identity, older than Islam, older than the Quran, older than most empires that tried to erase it. The architecture, the poetry, the food, the language, none of it is Arab. And the people, they're fiercely proud of that distinction. Is it harmless ignorance or a refusal to see cultures for what they really are? To much of the world, Iran is seen as a threat, a country of missiles, militias, and menace. But zoom out, wider than the headlines, and something doesn't quite add up. Since the 1979 revolution, Iran has become the West's favorite villain. But here's a fact often skipped. In the last 250 years, Iran has not launched a single war of conquest. Not one. Even the brutal Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 1988, which cost over 500,000 Iranian lives, was started when Saddam Hussein invaded. And today, Iran's military strategy explicitly centers around defense. Top generals reiterate it constantly. We will respond if attacked, but never strike first. Compare that to the military budgets of its neighbors. Saudi Arabia's per capita defense spending is 6 times higher, and the UAE outspends Iran by billions annually, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. Yes, Iran funds proxy groups. Yes, its foreign policy raises eyebrows, but there's a fine line between calculated deterrence and full-blown aggression. And here's the contradiction. When you walk the streets of Tehran, you don't hear war chants. You hear wedding songs, you hear job complaints, you hear people exhausted from being reduced to a political pawn. Iran's streets feel safe, with crime rates lower than many US cities, according to travel advisories. So ask yourself, is Iran truly aggressive? Or have we just repeated the same story for so long that it became true by default? Let's be honest. Who benefits from painting Iran as the villain? So maybe Iran isn't the aggressor. It's just been wearing the mask we gave it. But this is only one layer. What else have we misunderstood about this country? Stay with us, because the next fact might just flip your idea of Iran upside down. They say the veil hides everything. That a scarf on the head erases a woman's power, her identity, her sensuality. But walk through the streets of Tehran and you'll quickly realize it hides nothing. In fact, it dares you to look closer. In universities, women outnumber men. They top engineering programs, fill medical schools, and win academic awards. But it's outside the classroom where their silent rebellion becomes art. Iran's dress code tries to mute them. But women here turn fabric into flirtation, color into resistance. That scarf? Often tossed back just enough to reveal a perfectly framed face, red lips, cat eye liner, and cheekbones that carry centuries of defiance. The long coat? Cinched just enough to hint at form. Heels clicking against cobblestone, gold bracelets dancing on wrists like whispers. Everything is covered, and yet somehow more alluring. In today's Iran, the average age of first marriage for women has risen to 24.5 years, a sharp increase compared to 2 decades ago. In Tehran, that number pushes even higher, nearing 29. Meanwhile, international marriage is slowly rising, especially among educated urban women who study or work abroad. According to a 2023 study by Iran's National Organization for Civil Registration, cross-national marriages grew by 14% over the past decade, with many Iranian women marrying men from Europe, Canada, or Australia. Some see it as escape, others a chance to finally be seen beyond the veil. So here's a question that might make you curious. If Iranian women are this smart, this bold, and this driven, what kind of man, if any, do they actually want? They say Iran is frozen in time, paralyzed by politics, trapped in sanctions, cut off from modernity. But then the metro doors open, and that myth vanishes fast. The Tehran metro hums to life, clean, punctual, crowded with students, workers, grandmothers with grocery bags. It stretches over 200 kilometers with more than 130 stations, making it one of the largest subway systems in the Middle East. If progress moves like this underground, what else is the world failing to see above ground? In 2025, new lines reached satellite towns, giving blue-collar families a lifeline to the urban core. In the city streets, controlled chaos. Taxis, buses, and scooters weave through city arteries while smart traffic lights manage the flow. In cities like Isfahan and Mashhad, light rail and BRT lanes move millions each day. And it doesn't stop at city limits. Iran's national rail system, with modern electric trains, runs from the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf, crossing mountains and deserts to connect the nation. In remote provinces, this isn't just infrastructure, it's survival. Even in healthcare, Iran bucks a stereotype. With over 900 public hospitals, universal coverage, and world-class transplant and cancer centers, the country quietly leads in medical access, while the world looks the other way. We've all seen the images: angry crowds, fists raised in protest, chants like "Death to America." It's shocking, and if that's all you've seen, it's easy to believe that Iranians have animosity toward the West or anyone from it. However, once you land in Tehran, you're met with something completely different. As soon as you step off the plane, people offer assistance with your bags, give you directions, and by the end of the day, a friendly stranger might invite you to their home for a meal. The truth is, most Iranians don't hate Westerners. The anger you often hear is directed at policies, not people. What might seem like hostility toward entire nations is often frustration at things like sanctions, foreign interventions, and the double standards they feel have affected their country. Even then, most of this frustration is aimed at governments, not the everyday traveler. In fact, Iran is one of the most hospitable countries on earth. This isn't just a personal opinion, it's a pattern that most travelers will confirm. In Iran, the hardest part of the day isn't navigating the busy streets or overcoming a language barrier, but politely declining the fifth invitation for tea in just a few hours. Persian culture places immense value on hospitality, seeing it as both a sacred and prideful tradition. Welcoming a guest is viewed as an honor, and most Iranians will go out of their way to make sure you feel safe, comfortable, and well-fed. Iranians don't hate you. They might ask about your impressions of their country. They want to know if you enjoy the food, the architecture, or the poetry. If you show interest, they will offer to show you parts of their world that don't often make it into the media. The deeper you go into Iran, the more difficult it becomes to hold on to any single simplified image of the country. Iran is far from one-dimensional. It's a place of complexity, culture, and contradiction.
In 2023, Iran welcomed around 6 million international visitors, marking a significant 43% increase compared to the previous year. The number is expected to rise further, with projections suggesting over 7 million tourists by 2024. This boom in tourism highlights the shift in global perceptions about Iran, showing that it is a safe, fascinating destination despite its complex political image. Iran's hospitality, along with its rich culture and diverse landscapes, makes it a unique and inviting place. But to truly understand Iran, you need to experience it firsthand, beyond the headlines. What if the most misunderstood thing about Iran isn't politics, but prayer? To outsiders, the sight of Iran's religious life can feel overwhelming. Black banners during Muharram, televised sermons quoting scripture, laws written in the language of divine will. The word theocracy floats above every image. But here's the truth. Iran may be governed by clerics, but its people are not a religious monolith.
Roughly 90% of the population identifies as Shia Muslim, yet millions of Iranians don't follow this path. Iran is also home to Sunni Muslims, Zoroastrians, Armenian and Assyrian Christians, Jews, and a fast-growing segment of non-religious citizens. A 2020 survey by Gamayan found that over 47% of Iranians say they have distanced themselves from organized religion entirely, a staggering number in a country where religion is law. And even among believers, there's complexity. Some attend mosques weekly. Others only show up for funerals. Many participate in rituals out of culture, not conviction. The public displays, processions, passion plays, mourning for martyrs are just as much performance as prayer. Behind closed doors, especially among Iran's youth, questions echo louder than chants. What does faith mean when it's tied to fear? Can belief survive when it's mandatory? Iran's religion isn't just about scripture or sermons. It's about tension between tradition and rebellion, ritual and reason. And in that gap, Iranians are quietly redefining what it means to be spiritual under surveillance. The headlines never show that, but it's there, whispered, endured, and sometimes deeply believed. Step into Tehran, and the first thing you'll notice isn't silence, it's rhythm. Cafes pulse with indie rock and lo-fi jazz. The vibe in Tehran's cafes feels just like a small-town American diner gathering, where people trade stories, laughter, and the rhythm of everyday life. Booksellers whisper quotes from banned authors like Orwell and Hafez in the same breath. Teenagers pose for selfies beneath murals of ancient Persian kings, dressed in knockoff Balenciaga and Doc Martens. TEDx Tehran draws packed crowds where women, some in hijabs, some without, debate ideas of transparency, feminism, and identity in a nation that claims none of those exist. And underground art studios in Isfahan host gallery nights where bold paintings hang beside portraits of martyrs. Yes, surveillance looms, censorship is real, but so is the rebellion, quiet, creative, coded in color. A student launches a startup between VPN crashes. A filmmaker edits a band short at midnight. A poet posts in metaphors that slip through the censors.
This isn't a society crushed by repression. It's one burning through it, slowly, fiercely, with glitter and grit. Iran isn't gray. It's every color fighting to be seen. So when someone tells you life in Iran is dull and hopeless, ask them, when was the last time they looked past the headlines? Think of Iran, and most outsiders picture one thing: sand. An endless, blazing desert dotted with camels and ancient ruins. But that image is less geography and more Hollywood fantasy. Yes, Iran has deserts. The Lut Desert once recorded the hottest surface temperature on Earth, over 159 degrees Fahrenheit. That's crazy, but it's true. Yet just a few hours north, everything changes. Towering forests hug the Caspian coast, drenched in mist. In spring, rice paddies ripple like green silk. In autumn, the hillsides burn gold and red. Drive west, and the Zagros Mountains greet you with snow-capped peaks and glacial winds. Tehran itself touches the Alborz Range, and within an hour, you're not walking sand, you're skiing powder. Dizin, one of Iran's top ski resorts, sits over 8,500 feet high, which runs longer than many in Europe. From subtropical humidity in the south to alpine chill in the north, Iran's climate swings wider than most imagine. Farmers grow citrus, pistachios, wheat, and saffron, all within a few hundred miles of each other. So no, Iran isn't a one-season wonder. It's a land of opposites, stitched together by elevation, latitude, and survival. If we reduce it to sand, we erase the snow. And in doing so, we erase the people who call all of it home. If Iran has forests, ski resorts, and snowstorms, why does the media still sell you nothing but sand and fire? Is it lazy reporting or something more intentional? Traveling to Iran isn't just about visiting another country. It's about embracing the contradictions, complexities, and incredible hospitality that make it unique. The experience will shift your perspective and challenge preconceived notions. So, next time you hear something about Iran, remember that it's not just the headlines you should focus on. The world is full of stories waiting to be explored, and Iran is one of the most misunderstood yet most fascinating places to see firsthand. If this episode shifted your perspective on Iran, drop a comment and let us know how your views have changed. And for more eye-opening stories like this, subscribe to fellatravel. Let's journey beyond the surface together. Because the world isn't just what we hear, it's what we're willing to see and feel for ourselves.